This is not a test. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, has just confirmed visual and radar contact with multiple unidentified aerial phenomena. These objects have entered Earth's atmosphere simultaneously over vast and strategic areas, including the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic seaboard, and the Arctic Circle. Radar and satellite data show these phenomena traveling at speeds and in formations that defy all known laws of aerodynamics and physics as understood by current human science. They perform maneuvers impossible for any known aircraft or missile system, demonstrating a level of technology far beyond anything previously observed. Preliminary analysis from multiple international agencies strongly suggests that these objects are of non-terrestrial origin, potentially representing an extraterrestrial presence in Earth's skies. Governments and military command centers worldwide are currently in emergency sessions to evaluate the scope and implications of this unprecedented event. No allied or friendly aerial craft have been identified among these objects, increasing the urgency and concern among defense analysts. All citizens are hereby advised to immediately seek shelter indoors. Remain calm but vigilant. Do not attempt to engage, provoke, or communicate with these phenomena under any circumstances. Military forces have been placed on the highest state of alert, and rules of engagement have been adjusted to prioritize civilian safety and containment. We remind you that this is a rapidly evolving situation with many unknown factors. Stay in secure locations and avoid unnecessary travel. Do not spread rumors or unverified information on social media or other platforms, as misinformation may cause panic. Remain where you are. This is a developing crisis. Await further instructions from official channels. Repeat, this is not a test. The unidentified aerial phenomena have deployed multiple large, non-human craft into Earth's atmosphere, visible across continents. These enormous structures are nothing like any human-engineered aircraft or spacecraft recorded to date. Eyewitness reports describe colossal ships that emit no sound, with surfaces that seem to shimmer and shift in color and texture, as if made from unknown materials beyond human metallurgy. Pulsing lights of varying colors flash rhythmically along their hulls, creating an eerie yet mesmerizing spectacle against the night sky. Military radar and satellite systems confirm that these crafts possess advanced stealth and cloaking technologies, allowing them to appear and vanish at will, effectively evading conventional detection and targeting systems. This makes tracking and engaging the objects extremely difficult for all defense forces involved. Initial intelligence suggests these entities are systematically scanning populated areas using smaller, drone-like reconnaissance units, which move swiftly and silently among cities and critical infrastructure. Despite extensive attempts, all efforts to establish communication via conventional radio frequencies, satellite signals, or encrypted channels have failed. No responses of any kind have been detected from these entities. This ongoing situation constitutes a direct, unmitigated threat to national and global security, raising concerns about potential hostile intent or reconnaissance prior to further action. Non-essential personnel and civilians should remain in secure locations, avoid windows, and prepare for possible emergency procedures. Emergency services and military units remain on heightened alert and stand ready to respond to any hostile acts or sudden developments. Further instructions will be issued as more information becomes available. Maintain heightened situational awareness and prioritize your safety. This is a declared national emergency. Immediate protective measures are now mandatory for all civilians. All residents must seek shelter indoors as quickly as possible, preferably moving to basements, interior rooms, or any spaces without windows to reduce exposure to unknown hazards. It is imperative that you avoid any direct visual contact with the unidentified craft or entities to minimize psychological impact and prevent potential harm. Do not attempt to communicate or signal towards these objects, as the nature and intent of their response, if any, remain unknown and potentially dangerous. Emergency response teams have been ordered to prioritize civilian evacuation only in cases of direct threat or attack. Please be prepared for possible disruptions in power grids, communication networks, and essential services. Conserve battery-powered radios, flashlights, and medical supplies. Stockpile at least 14 days' worth of food, potable water, and necessary medications to sustain yourself and your family. Secure all entrances to your shelter by reinforcing doors and windows with heavy furniture, metal bars, or other materials to prevent forced entry or exposure. Maintain calm and discipline. Panic or unauthorized movements outside shelter locations may expose individuals to unknown physical or biological risks. All civilians are urged to remain indoors and to report any unusual or suspicious activity only through designated emergency hotlines or official channels. Keep in mind that emergency responders are overwhelmed. Avoid clogging communication lines with non-critical calls. Military units across the United States, Canada, and allied nations are currently at the highest state of readiness and alert. Air defense systems, including advanced fighter jets, interceptors, and missile batteries, have been deployed to monitor the unidentified aerial phenomena continuously. Ground forces have been mobilized to secure critical infrastructure such as power plants, government buildings, and communication hubs. Despite aggressive posturing and deployment of conventional and experimental weaponry, these unknown crafts have demonstrated remarkable resilience, with little to no damage reported from initial engagements. Commanders have been instructed to prioritize civilian protection and containment efforts over offensive strikes to prevent escalation. Joint operations involving multinational coalitions are underway to develop coordinated response strategies, share intelligence, and pool resources to counter the evolving threat. Electronic warfare and cyber units are actively attempting to interfere with or disrupt any alien communication or control systems detected. To date, no form of communication or negotiation has been established with these entities, and their intentions remain unclear. The government advises all civilians to comply strictly with shelter-in-place orders and avoid areas of military operations to prevent casualties or interference. Official updates will be provided as more intelligence is gathered and evaluated. All civilians are strongly urged to remain indoors and avoid all contact with the unidentified aerial phenomena or their deployed drones. Under no circumstances should you approach any strange objects, entities, or unexplained activity related to this event. Secure all windows and doors firmly. If possible, relocate to an interior room with no windows or heavy shielding from outside. Maintain access to a battery-powered radio and keep it tuned to this station for real-time updates and emergency instructions. Prepare emergency supplies to last at least 14 days, including food, clean water, medical kits, hygiene products, and any necessary medications for chronic conditions. Limit use of mobile phones and communication devices, as they may interfere with critical defense communications or be subject to monitoring. Report any sightings or unusual occurrences immediately via official emergency channels, providing detailed information about location, appearance, and behavior. Do not attempt evacuation or travel unless explicitly authorized by authorities, as unauthorized movement may expose you to unknown hazards. Stay calm and assist those around you, particularly vulnerable individuals such as the elderly, children, and those with medical conditions. Community cooperation and solidarity are vital to surviving this unprecedented crisis. All branches of the United States Armed Forces, including the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, are currently operating at full capacity, implementing advanced defensive and countermeasure protocols. Strategic missile defense systems, including ground-based interceptors and Aegis-equipped naval vessels, have been positioned around major urban centers and critical military installations. Naval task forces and aerial combat units are actively tracking and engaging multiple unidentified craft, employing a combination of kinetic and electronic warfare tactics. Specialized electronic warfare teams are attempting to jam, disrupt, or intercept potential alien communication and control networks, seeking vulnerabilities. The President, in close coordination with NATO allies and global partners, has authorized all necessary defensive countermeasures, including the use of experimental weaponry, to neutralize any immediate threats. Civilian air traffic has been suspended nationwide and in Allied territories to ensure operational freedom and maximize civilian safety. All citizens are urged to avoid congesting emergency communication lines to facilitate smooth military coordination and rapid dissemination of critical information. This remains an ongoing and fluid operation. All developments and updates will be communicated as soon as they are available. This is a national emergency unlike any other in recorded history. We fully understand the fear, uncertainty, and anxiety this unprecedented event causes around the globe. However, maintaining calm and following official instructions are essential steps to ensuring your safety and that of those around you. Continue to shelter in place. Avoid any attempts to engage or communicate with the unidentified craft or entities, and refrain from spreading unverified information. Stay tuned to this frequency for verified, timely updates and detailed instructions. All emergency services, government agencies, and international organizations are fully mobilized and working tirelessly to coordinate an effective and unified response. Together, through resilience, cooperation, and determination, humanity will face and overcome this extraordinary challenge. Thank you for your attention and your cooperation. Stay safe, remain vigilant, and trust the official channels for guidance. We interrupt our regular broadcast to bring you a message received just hours ago. The sender's identity remains unverified, but the contents are chilling. What you're about to hear may be disturbing. Proceed with caution. It has now been 48 hours since the first appearance of the unidentified aerial objects. Across the globe, more than 120 crafts remain suspended in the sky, motionless, silent, and untouched by weather or gravity. Their presence defies known physics, No exhaust trails, no visible propulsion, no signals intercepted. In the beginning, they appeared as distant lights, silent stars moving against the grain of the night sky. Then, they stopped. Now they hover, each one fixed above a major city, not attacking, not responding, just watching. Air traffic has ceased. Civilian flights were grounded within the first 6 hours. Commercial satellites now operate in encrypted relay mode. International space stations report strange gravitational anomalies as they pass near object perimeters. Power grids have begun fluctuating near the larger crafts. In some areas, streetlights blink in unison. Heartbeat patterns, too synchronized to be accidental. Yet communication remains impossible. No radio frequency, infrared spectrum, or digital signal has returned a response. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency assembly, digitally. Their message: global cooperation, data sharing, containment. But beneath the surface, every government is preparing for the worst. Military units are mobilized in silence. Drones hover at safe distances. Fighter jets remain grounded, but fueled. The objects make no demands, issue no warnings, offer no answers, and that silence is louder than war. Across every major time zone, humanity waits for a message, a movement, a mistake. Some still hope it's peaceful. Others prepare for extinction. This is the new world, 48 hours after first contact, and we still don't know if we've been greeted or marked. This is not a test. This is our attempt to be understood. From the moment the first object entered Earth's atmosphere, communication became humanity's only hope. And now, with over 100 crafts silently observing from the skies, attempts at contact have taken center stage. At 0640 UTC, a coordinated effort began between NASA, ESA, JAXA, and several independent observatories. Using an array of transmission methods, mathematical primes, Fibonacci sequences, binary pulses, they beamed out clear, repeated signals in multiple formats. No reply, no deviation, no acknowledgement. At 1312 UTC, a second strategy was deployed. This time, visual symbology. A series of light arrays were projected from orbital satellites and high-altitude drones, depicting universally recognizable forms, geometries, human DNA, atomic structures, and even early cave art. Again, nothing. But then came the Central Asia anomaly. At 1703 local time, over the Tian Shan Mountains, an alien craft emitted a subtle glow. 3 bursts of light in quick succession, followed by silence. Moments later, it mirrored the human transmission, a Fibonacci sequence in pulse light format. The pattern was exact, perfect. For a fleeting moment, hope surged. Had we made contact? But the replication ended abruptly. The next pulses broke the sequence. The light emissions devolved into erratic flickers, meaningless, or perhaps coded in a logic we cannot yet grasp. Some scientists interpreted the event as a sign of sentient reception, a beginning. Others were more cautious. Mimicry is not understanding, warned Dr. Amina Rao, lead xenolinguist at the SETI Coordination Hub. A parrot can echo a word, but it does not grasp its meaning. In the absence of certainty, caution becomes policy. Diplomatic channels prepare messages of peace. Military channels prepare for something else. In an undisclosed location, A team of defense analysts studied high-frequency spectrums after each attempt. According to leaked reports, some signals came back changed, as if the message had been bounced back not from a passive object, but from something listening. And then there's the matter of the delay. Each response, or anomaly, emerges exactly 9 minutes and 26 seconds after each transmission. The number is consistent. Too consistent. A time lag, or a form of processing. We are speaking into a void that may not be empty, and with every attempt to reach out, we risk being heard by more than we intended. Still, the attempts continue, because they must, because silence could be worse. This is frequency 404. Stand by for further updates, and keep your eyes on the sky. Three hostile incidents have now been officially confirmed, marking a significant escalation from passive observation to direct and, in some cases, devastating interactions. The first serious event occurred over a restricted NATO military zone in Eastern Europe. A reconnaissance drone, apparently deployed from one of the larger crafts stationed in the upper atmosphere, descended to an altitude below 100 meters, flying silently over a strategic military installation. Radar systems detected it as a solid object, but without any thermal signature. After repeated warnings and radio communications were ignored, air defense units activated target locking protocols. At that moment, the drone emitted an unknown form of energy, a pulse invisible to the naked eye, but detected by sensitive electronic systems as a massive electromagnetic disruption. The result: all nearby vehicles, communication devices, and weapon systems were rendered completely inoperative for over 90 minutes, leaving the base vulnerable and blind to any further threats. In Brazil, a rural farming community was forced into emergency evacuation after an unidentifiable aerial object silently passed over the area. In the aftermath, local farmers reported numerous dead livestock and widespread abnormalities in crops and soil. Preliminary scientific analyses of biological and environmental samples revealed signs of unusual radiation and genetic mutations affecting plant life. Authorities continue to investigate possible links to the aerial phenomenon, with fears growing over unknown long-term ecological and health effects on both humans and wildlife in the region. A Royal Navy destroyer-class vessel was discovered adrift in the North Atlantic, with no crew aboard. The ship's last communication was abruptly cut off during a routine patrol. Upon boarding, no signs of damage or struggle were evident on the ship's exterior or interior. Investigations remain ongoing, but initial assessments show no mechanical failures or external attack marks. The mysterious disappearance of the crew has prompted urgent international naval inquiries and heightened fears of direct hostile action by unknown forces. Across the globe, the ongoing presence and unexplained activities of these unidentified aerial phenomena are generating profound psychological and social repercussions. Civilian populations in areas with frequent sightings or direct incidents have reported a marked increase in anxiety, insomnia, and other stress-related symptoms. Many describe vivid, often disturbing dreams featuring alien figures or scenarios of invasion and helplessness. A pervasive feeling of being watched or monitored has unsettled countless individuals, disrupting daily routines and eroding a sense of personal safety. Mental health professionals have observed a surge in demand for counseling and crisis support, as communities struggle to process the uncertainty and fear that accompany these events. The origin of these psychological effects remains under investigation. Some experts theorize that exposure to unknown electromagnetic fields or other forms of alien technology could be directly influencing brain function, while others suggest these responses are a form of collective trauma, a mass psychological reaction to the unprecedented nature of the crisis. At the same time, new religious sects, fringe movements, and doomsday cults have begun to emerge or gain prominence in numerous cities worldwide. These groups often exploit public fears by spreading apocalyptic prophecies and conspiracy theories about the intentions of the alien visitors. This proliferation of misinformation challenges authorities, as some factions actively undermine trust in official communication and may incite unrest. Governments and agencies face the difficult task of maintaining public order and ensuring that accurate information prevails in an age where social media accelerates the spread of both facts and falsehoods. Officials urge citizens to remain vigilant, rely only on verified sources, and report any suspicious activity that might threaten community safety. The social fabric of many communities is under strain, and how societies adapt to these pressures will likely shape the trajectory of this global phenomenon. As the days unfold under the shadow of the unknown crafts, national governments have begun to diverge sharply in their responses. Some have doubled down on diplomacy and scientific cooperation. Others have quietly shifted toward militarization, contingency planning, and the silent mobilization of strategic forces. The United Nations has convened a continuous emergency assembly, live-streamed globally, yet offering little reassurance. Inside the chamber, tensions simmer beneath layers of protocol. Major powers argue over jurisdiction, transparency, and control of information. Smaller nations, fearing marginalization, demand equitable access to what little data is being shared. In the United States, DEFCON levels were raised discreetly. Several Air Force bases across Nevada, Alaska, and the eastern seaboard are now under restricted airspace lockdowns. Naval fleets in the Pacific and Atlantic have been repositioned, and experimental aerospace divisions have gone dark, offering no comment. Meanwhile, in China and Russia, satellite images show the rapid construction of subterranean structures and the relocation of critical infrastructure. Both countries have increased cyber silence, limiting both outgoing and incoming transmissions. Whether this reflects caution or preparation remains unclear. Europe has opted for a divided strategy. While NATO officially supports peaceful contact and scientific exchange, internal memos leaked from several member states reveal covert operations focused on defensive technologies and emergency civilian drills under the guise of disaster preparedness. Even in regions less equipped for large-scale response, signs of unease are visible. In parts of Africa, Asia, and South America, air traffic has decreased sharply. Border controls have tightened. Mobile networks occasionally go offline without warning, rumored to be government-initiated blackouts designed to curb panic. Perhaps most telling are the subtle but deliberate cultural shifts. Propaganda, once focused on unity and peace, has turned to resilience and sacrifice. Public messaging subtly conditions citizens for loss, disruption, and a potential new order. Still, amid the rising tension, a critical question lingers. Are these measures precaution or provocation? No one knows how the presence will react to fear, aggression, or even hope. But one thing is clear: the world is not waiting to find out. At exactly 3:07 UTC, a signal was received. Monitored simultaneously by ground arrays in Australia, Japan, and Canada, the transmission originated from one of the stationary crafts hovering in geosynchronous orbit above the equator. It was a single pulse, narrow band, mathematically structured, and unlike anything previously recorded. The signal lasted 1.7 seconds. Within minutes, observatories and military satellites confirmed the transmission had been directed not at any specific facility, but broadcast across the entire radio spectrum, visible to every listening device on Earth. Initial analysis revealed layered data, not just noise. Encoded within the frequency was a repeating numerical pattern, a sequence of prime numbers followed by geometric symmetries that mirrored Earth's own orbital ratios. Many interpret it as a clear sign of intelligence. Others warn it may be a test, to see who is watching and how we react. The world held its breath. Within hours, the message was dissected by leading cryptographers, astrophysicists, and linguists. No clear linguistic content was found, but several elements repeated, almost like punctuation marks or delimiters. The message was deliberate, constructed, not natural. Then came the second signal. This time, it originated not from orbit, but from within Earth's atmosphere. Multiple crafts, previously dormant in their hovering positions, began emitting synchronized pulses at low altitudes. The pattern matched the first message, but with slight deviations, suggesting either a new message or a layered addition to the first. Cities beneath the crafts reported blackouts, not just electrical, but sensory. Reports of auditory distortions, visual interference, and for some, even time loss. Minutes unaccounted for. Entire intervals of memory inexplicably absent. One pilot, flying near the perimeter of the event over the Pacific, described a feeling of being looked through, as if every thought and memory had become transparent. He was grounded upon return, and within hours, his psychological profile was sealed under military protocol. Public response was immediate. Across social media and independent forums, fragments of the signal were shared, analyzed, and theorized. Some believe it's an invitation, an effort to teach or connect. Others are less optimistic, claiming the signal is a prelude to influence or control. A few even believe the broadcasts aren't for us at all, but for something else already here. Governments issued no official response, but behind closed doors, translation efforts have been redirected and intensified. New listening arrays are being constructed. Artificial intelligence systems have been tasked with running non-human language simulations. And yet, in the midst of this flurry of effort, one truth has begun to settle like dust in the back of every room. The silence is over. Now comes the waiting for what comes next. They're descending, not all at once, not everywhere, but slowly, deliberately, across key geographic points, above major cities, nuclear installations, and vast uninhabited stretches of land. Satellite data confirms a uniform drop in altitude across nearly 70% of the known crafts. From orbital silence to low atmospheric drift, they now hover close enough to cast shadows over streets, forests, and oceans. And then, the clocks begin. In Tokyo, a sequence of symbols appears on the underside of a craft, looping in intervals of 360 seconds. In northern Canada, a beam of light pulses every 13 minutes, synchronized with tectonic microquakes that weren't there before. In Cairo, a radio telescope intercepts a rhythmic pulse. 6 long bursts, 6 short, 6 long. Morse code, an error, or an intention? Governments scramble to interpret what many now call the countdown, yet no one can agree on what it's counting down to. A contact attempt? An attack? A test? The atmosphere thickens with dread. Military assets remain on high alert, but even the most hawkish commanders hesitate. No weapon has proven effective. No strategy has guaranteed safety. Meanwhile, civilians around the globe capture the descent with phones and drones. Online forums speculate, maybe this is the end, or maybe the beginning of something far stranger. The crafts no longer simply observe. They move with purpose. They choose locations. Some seem to follow individuals. One hovers above an isolated farmhouse in Ukraine and does not move for 11 hours. Another trails an ambulance convoy in southern India, never interfering, just watching. In Washington, the president holds a press conference and utters the words no leader wanted to say. We do not know what they want. We do not know if they understand us. We only know that they are coming closer. Then, across every global broadcast network, a single image appears. Not a ship, not a weapon, a shape, humanoid, but not human, standing in a field of static, and a single word, pulsing faintly beneath it, in every known human language. Soon. You are still listening to Frequency 404. We stay on the air as long as we can, as long as we need to. It has been 72 hours since the word soon appeared across every screen, every device, every broadcast frequency on Earth. Since then, the countdown has stopped. The lights have gone still. The crafts have ceased descending. And then, silence returned. For 3 days, nothing moved. No more signals. No more strange pulses. No more changes in altitude. Many dared hope it was over. Some even claimed we'd passed a test, that they had measured us and found us unworthy, then left. But tonight, at 3 a.m. UTC, the waiting ended. In a remote desert outpost in Nevada, personnel stationed near one of the low-hovering crafts reported a phenomenon unlike any other. A portion of the underside split open, not mechanically, but more like a membrane peeling back, revealing a blinding white void. And then, it stepped out. Witnesses described it as humanoid, but that word feels hollow here. It stood on two legs, yes, but everything else about it seemed impossible. The body shimmered as though it wasn't fully material, like smoke trapped in glass. The head lacked a face, yet observers swore they could feel it looking directly at them. It moved slowly, with deliberation, and with each step, sand and stone beneath its feet darkened, as though stained by its presence. Cameras failed, instruments failed, radio failed. Only the witnesses' memories remain, and even those are inconsistent. But one thing every witness agrees on: it spoke. No sound, no words, but into their minds directly. You are the first to see. Reports are coming in faster than we can verify them. But one thing is certain: the world is no longer the same. The Nevada encounter was not an isolated event. Within 6 hours of the first figure's appearance, similar reports began to surface, first scattered and tentative, then flooding in from all corners of the globe. In the streets of São Paulo, a figure emerged from a craft hovering above the city center, stepping onto the rooftop of a government building and remaining motionless as panicked crowds filled the avenues below. On a windswept plateau in Mongolia, another appeared, striding across the frozen grass as herders abandoned their livestock and fled. In downtown Lagos, in the shadow of a half-finished skyscraper, yet another stood silently as power grids sputtered and streetlights failed one by one. Always the same. Humanoid, faceless, impossible to photograph or record. Always the same message, burned into the minds of those closest. You are the first to see. And with each appearance, the world fractured a little more. In Paris, protests erupted overnight, thousands demanding transparency, screaming into the cold air that they too deserved to see what others had seen. In Cairo, a cult calling itself the Chosen of Soon took over a radio tower and broadcast their own garbled sermons, claiming to have decoded a hidden message in the being's words. In Seoul, a full military unit defected, sealing themselves in a bunker and declaring that humanity had already lost the right to resist. And in New Delhi, soldiers opened fire on a crowd of civilians trying to storm the gates of a government complex, convinced the officials inside were hiding direct contact. Trust began to evaporate, between nations, between citizens, even between neighbors. People reported strange behavior in loved ones. Blank stares, sudden violence, unsettling laughter at nothing. Whispers of something spreading, whether fear, madness, or something more, circulated like wildfire. And still the figures came, one after another, each stepping out of their craft, each choosing a different place, each watching in silence as humanity tore at itself. Somewhere, perhaps, they were counting. We don't know what's coming next, but it's already here. The air feels heavier tonight, or maybe it's just us. It has now been several hours since the first figures stepped out of their crafts, since they took their positions on open ground, in quiet streets, on rooftops and hillsides, and stopped. And they haven't moved since. They simply stand, their bodies faintly shimmering, their faceless heads tilted as though listening to something no one else can hear. They do not speak. They do not react. They do not even seem to breathe. People gather at a distance, unsure what to do. Some shout. Some fall to their knees. Some just watch, unable to look away. A few have tried to approach, but those who get too close are stopped, not by force, but by something deeper. A ringing in the skull, a tightening in the chest, and a single thought that is not their own. Not yet. The hours crawl by. Still, they do not move. The world holds its breath, caught between panic and paralysis. Even the wind seems to have quieted, as though the earth itself waits for what comes next. And that stillness is worse than any threat. We'll keep watching, because there's nothing else left to do. After all these hours, something finally happened. The stillness broke, not with a sound, not with a flash of light, but with a movement, small, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. One of them, just one, shifted its weight. A slow, fluid turn of its head toward the nearest onlookers, as though it had chosen someone. And then, it raised its hand. Fingers, if they can even be called that, extended, shimmering like glass in sunlight, and pointed directly forward. No one moved. No one spoke. The gesture held for what felt like an eternity. Then it lowered its hand, took one step forward, and stopped again. And then another, elsewhere, did the same. And another. And another. Not all of them. Not all at once. But enough to make it clear. The waiting was over. Witnesses closest to the figures reported the same sensation, a pressure behind the eyes, a rush of alien thoughts and images impossible to hold on to, and one phrase echoing through their minds: "You will come." Whether it was a command, an invitation, or something worse, no one can yet say. What followed was silence. The figures returned to their statuesque posture, their arms at their sides, their gaze fixed. But everything felt different now. They had moved. They had chosen. And somewhere, deep down, humanity understood. There would be no going back. We'll keep watching and waiting, because now, it's your turn. Something is happening now. Something we don't understand. Something we can't stop. It began slowly, At first, no one dared move, but then, almost without realizing it, a handful of people, those nearest to the figures, took a tentative step forward. No one called to them. No one ordered them. They just followed. And the figures moved in response, turning, gliding forward at the same unhurried pace, with the humans trailing close behind. Their destination? Unknown. Their purpose? Unspoken. But step by step, more people joined. Some tried to stop them, shouting, grabbing at sleeves, blocking their path. But it was no use. The ones who followed didn't resist, didn't even look back. They simply kept walking, their faces blank, eyes fixed ahead. Soon, thin lines of silent processions wound through streets and fields, crossing rivers and highways, converging on points no one could predict. Each led by one of the faceless figures, each growing as others left their homes, their shelters, their hiding places, and joined the march. Not everyone followed. Some stayed behind, watching from doorways, windows, rooftops, too afraid, too stubborn, or too paralyzed to move. But those who remained felt something just the same, a pull, a quiet pressure building in the mind, like a voice waiting for them to listen. You will come. And the ones who resisted began to wonder how long they could. The figures do not hurry. They do not speak. They do not turn to see who is behind them. But the lines keep growing. Step by step, hour by hour, they lead humanity somewhere unknown. And with each passing moment, the quiet grows heavier. The choice, thinner. We don't know where they're going. We don't know if we'll follow. But already, it feels inevitable. We've been here since the beginning, and now, it seems we've reached the end. The processions grew until there was no one left to watch them pass. Every street, every plain, every shoreline was filled with silent lines of humanity, walking in unison behind the figures who had come to lead them. Those who resisted at first, those who hid, those who barricaded themselves, found it harder and harder to hold out. The pull in their minds became unbearable. Some screamed as they gave in. Others simply opened their doors and stepped outside, joining the endless march, until no one was left behind. No one but us. From here, through the static of this broadcast, we can see what waits at the end of their path. A shimmering horizon, brighter than dawn, stretched across the land where the crafts first descended. A great chasm of white light, rippling like water, widening with every passing moment. One by one, the figures lead their processions into the light, and one by one, the humans follow. Without a sound, without a glance back, disappearing beyond the threshold. We've tried to hail them. We've tried to warn them. We've tried to understand. But none of them respond. Not anymore. Now the last figure stands at the edge of the light, waiting for us. Just us. We can feel its gaze even here, through the wires and transmitters, as though it knows who we are. As though it's asking, will you come? We don't know what's beyond the threshold. We don't know if they're leaving or if they're being taken. We don't know if we'll ever hear them again. But we know this. The silence they brought has been replaced by something far worse, the emptiness of being left behind. This is frequency 404. We've stayed on the air as long as we could, long enough to see the end, long enough to choose. And as the last of humanity steps into the light, the static swells, the signal fades, and the voice of the faceless figure whispers one final word into our minds. Welcome.